Carolina Panthers Governor David Tepper is in hot water for a cold drink. As his team clinched the worst record in the National Football League, Tepper, 66 years of age, threw a drink at fans. Shannon Sharp and Chad Ochocinco spoke on it.
Roger Goodell got to come down hard. I'm talking about hard. Hard.
Yeah.
I'm talking about probably somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million fine, and he's got to be suspended for a period of time.
I like the fine. I like the fine because we get fined for every little thing. The suspension.
That's an owner.
Is that a little too much? I like the fine though. The fine and an apology to the fan.
That's not a player. That's an owner. That's an owner.
Right.
There's been no stability, and the future looks rather grim, too. They would have the first overall pick in this year's draft, but they traded that pick to Chicago last year to get Bryce Young. In response to the video of Tepper throwing the drink, the NFL said it was aware of the video but would have no further comment, and the Panthers had no comment as well, and we've yet to hear what response the fan or fans involved in the incident may have.
I mean, 2-14. Jimmy Johnson went on to win 2 or 3 Super. They were 1-15 its first season.
Okay,
so young
so you're
quarterback.
saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. You got to be patient.
Can't be throwing drinks though.
It's a game of
in the
patience
process.
and stability.
Okay,
and you don't throw drinks on the fans. That's another good point there, Will.
Strahan doing the very glass half full approach to a team that hasn't shown any promise through the hiring and firing of multiple head coaches, plus trading away picks that are needed.
But I just know that firing a coach every time the guy has a losing season, or I don't think he's been. Just because you have enough money to buy a franchise, that doesn't mean you know the intricacies of a football team and what it takes to build a contending and a championship caliber football team. And so I don't think he understands that. He just thinks he can come in, this ain't working, let me change. You can do CEOs like that of your business. Yeah, you can do that. Football doesn't work like that. Pro sports doesn't work like that.
Good points here all around. What David Tepper did was inexcusable. There's no justifying it, all right? Here's more from this moment. The Charlotte Observer's Scott Fowler, he'd go scorch earth. Does anyone ever tell David Tepper what a cartoonish villain of a sports owner he has turned himself into? Does anyone in the Carolina Panthers' offices ever say, hey, Dave, that might be a little much. We're about to try to hire America's best head football coach, so could you please try not to look like a clown? Does anyone ever rein the man in? Forget about all his billions for a while and just give him a crash course in human decency and how not to let your emotions get the best of you? Obviously they don't. Or at least the ones who are left at Bank of America Stadium don't. As a former Panthers employee who worked for Tepper told me, Dave ran off all the people who told him the truth. Well, now you have what answers the first paragraph. And I like Scott Fowler, all right? In this piece, he details how the Panthers and their PR team freeze him out when he's been asking questions in those very pressers for decades. This is microcosmic of how an egotistical mega billionaire runs his ship. It is surrounded by yes men. It is a very Musk Trumpian approach. And clearly it is wrong and it's failing. When the Jags were beating the Panthers 26-0, that's when Tepper tossed the drink in the direction of a fan in frustration. Then his cup onto a desk, and he would storm off. There are a few points to hit here that I think are important. First, the National Football League, who will punish players for the height of their socks in the Goodell administration, is silent. The Panthers, the Jags, the league office, mute. Why? PFT's Mike Florio wrote in his column, his lawyers might be telling him to say nothing, since anything he says can and will be used against him if/when he's sued for assault and or battery. But nothing he says will change what he did unless he has a semi-plausible defense. There's no harm in apologizing for something like this. There's plenty of harm in remaining silent. And there's apparently no one on the payroll who can persuade him of the importance of truly being sorry and of saying so. More outlets would note that Panthers GM Scott Fitterer, who, by the way, unless this is David Tepper inserting a yes man to carry out his football aspirations, which I'll detail in a minute, have been horrible and tumultuous and losing, he was there as well. And Fitterer has a lot of questions that need to be answered for his tenure. But the fact that you had executives around him seeing him toss a drink on fans, that's something the fans do. Unruly ones. That's not something that a governor of a football team does. It's childish. This is what a kid does when he loses in a video game. Not when you have 2 wins on the season. Some context for a potential punishment from Fowler once more. In 2009, the NFL fined then Titans owner Bud Adams $250,000 for obscene hand gestures when he flipped the bird 2 times at opposing fans. The punishment for conduct detrimental to the league came within 24 hours of the incident, as did an apology from Bud. From The Athletic, Tepper, a hedge fund billionaire, could face a fine for his actions, but he's worth over $20 billion, so it's not going to make a dent. Hilariously, Joseph Person wrote, if the league wanted to do Panthers fans a favor, they'd ban Tepper from Bank of America Stadium for the next 5 weeks or so. Let someone else hire the Panthers as next head coach and possibly the next GM. It's been doom and gloom. Let me be very clear about this. As we learned during the Jerry Richardson years and then post Jerry Richardson, when he sold off the team, I believe that was in 2018. David Tepper's fired 3 head coaches in season in less than 6 years, including Frank Reich, who lasted only 11 games. The shortest tenure in NFL history for a head coach who coached at least 1 regular season game. In that span, the team has a win percentage of .316, second worst behind Trump cabinet member Woody Johnson and the Jets. Since the Tepper takeover, 0 playoff appearances. He also passed on Steve Wilkes, a baffling move considering Wilkes had the respect of players, and it's just not getting better. You know what Tepper's record is? As the man who runs this team and pulls the strings, 31-67. I'm a Bears supporter, all right? I have seen the McCaskies run this team into the ground. I know bad ownership when I see it. This is bad ownership. And it's not turning around quickly. Carolina traded 2 first-round picks and top receiver DJ Moore to Chicago in April to move from 9th to 1st to select Bryce Young. Shortly after the draft, David Tepper told a group of fans at the stadium that Young would lead the Panthers to Super Bowls. Little has gone right since. Bryce Young is ranked as one of the worst quarterbacks statistically in the NFL. The Panthers were assured weeks ago of their 6th straight losing season, since Tepper paid $2.75 billion with a B for the organization in 2018. The second point is this, and it is media framing. Vital, especially on Twitter, which is where this video came from. Ari Meirov, whose work has been featured on Pro Football Focus and the 33rd Team, captioned the video as follows. Not great. Panthers owner David Tepper appears to have spilled his drink on a Jaguars fan during today's frustrating 26-0 loss. Spilled. What in that arm movement hell makes you think he spilled? The least he could have done was intentionally spilled. Spilled makes it seem and frames it as an accident. And what does that do? It helps David Tepper get off, except there were a lot of people in the comments and tweets underneath it, I should say, that called out Ari, rightfully so. Ari has been an insider for some time, and he is part of the Twitter sphere, you know, like a Colin Rugg. What's another one? There are plenty. I mean, Barstool does it as well, where they will take a video, they will tweet the video, and they will put in their own words, and then at the very bottom of the tweet, they'll say via NFL or via, Dave from Long Island, 29 on Twitter. Why are you protecting David Tepper in this instance? Because that is how it comes across. At best, it was poorly worded. At worst, you are currying favors to the billionaire class. We all saw it with our own 2 eyes. It's a huge problem in media, man. It's It's a huge problem. And if you didn't see my conversation with Jim Trotter, this is a perfect segue. Go watch that on the TYT Sports channel.